weird. We are, aren't we? We are. We're totally overqualified. Once again, I forgot to pull up the court stream before I went live. Why does today feel like Monday? It's Friday. It's not Monday, Debbie. Why am I making today so hard?
That she didn't have.
Get it together, Debbie. Get it together. Okay. We have 10 jurors seated in the Karen Reed trial. It has been Monday all week, hasn't it? So we have 10 jurors seated in the Karen Reed trial. They want 16. So I don't think the actual trial is going to start. Like, opening statements probably are not going to start until April 14th. I'm hoping. This trial was supposed to last 2 weeks. It started on a Friday, right? Because we're on day 6 and today's a Friday. So hopefully we're still on the state's case in chief, though. And I don't know, they've been through over 20 witnesses. I don't know how many more witnesses they have. I just hope we finish this before Karen Reed. Because Bev thought it was going to take like 3 weeks. Or no, that wasn't Bev. That was Papa Trago said 3 weeks. They said like 2 to 3 weeks. So I thought, oh, well, we'll have plenty of time then. Because this is only supposed to take 2 weeks. But now I'm wondering, because this thing, it's the defense attorney. He's the one that's drawing this out, asking stupid questions. I just hope, because y'all, I ain't missing Karen Reed. I mean, we can go back to this if we have to, but I'd rather have spoilers. I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather have spoilers with this than spoilers with Karen Reed. I mean, I was going to say she's already been through this once, but so has Karen Reed. Okay, let's do this thing. StreamYard, you have to behave. Terry, well, happy early birthday. Stream, you have to behave. I don't know what to do. I thought I had fixed the problem. It's gotten better, but now I've done everything I know how to do, and I don't know what else to do to make it better. One thing that makes it better is to not watch my channel on the computer. It's to watch my channel on the iPad. But I can't do as much on the iPad as I can do on the computer. I can pin messages on the iPad. And that's basically all I need to do until I want to portal or something like that. Oh, and I was going to tell you guys, watch Lawyer, he did his live yesterday was about the widespreadness. Is that a word? I am in a weird mood today, y'all. I don't know what's going on with me this morning. I'm not on anything. I promise. This is just me having a weird day. The widespread awareness of the Karen Reed trial. People like on sports podcasts talking about the Karen Reed trial and that they watch the HBO documentary and what they think. And it's really, really eye-opening, and it's made me feel better because with all the cards stacked against her the way it is, even people that think she hit him, they don't think that they're ever going to be able to get 12 people to all say that she's guilty.
Any other matters?
There's no way to really know what happened.
Okay.
They think it's going to be another hung jury. So that was a little bit comforting. But just that it's like everybody is aware of what happened now. And I'm also mad at HBO. What
So
timing
not
to put that
introducing
documentary
A?
out?
Is it just A?
Yeah, it was 8.1
Talk about making it hard to get a impartial.
Anything else then before we bring in the jury? Sir, you can
Did they do that on
have a seat.
purpose, or did that just happen that way? I haven't seen it yet. I need to watch it. Carla saw it. She said it was pretty good, and that I said, did they lie a lot? And she said no. It was, and she said that Alan Jackson was on it, and it was pretty true to what actually happened. They talked about the inverted video and all of that stuff. So it sounds like it's truthful from what Carla told me. Where is Carla today?
Good morning, jury. Sir, I will swear you in again. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Ivy?
Thank you, Mr. Willison, we kind of left off yesterday
I just want to recap a couple of the issues that we touched on, the topics. First of all, we talked about her debt. Can you just recap quickly, and then we'll talk further on anything that might be in the further transcript?
She owed about $100,000 to family and friends. And then she mentioned to me that after the fire, she noticed that apparently there was a foreclosure on the property earlier, and they got it out of foreclosure, but then Todd had made, the way she put it was that Todd hadn't made any payments since then. So there was.
From yesterday's testimony, did she talk to you about why she was frustrated with Todd?
Oh, very much so. I mean, my impression was that she took every opportunity she could to make Todd look like a bad guy. You know, she was frustrated about him.
I mean, he's making impressions, and it's either a statement that's in the transcript and not what he feels like she was trying to do. I think that is totally out of line.
I will sustain that objection.
She mentioned several addictions to Vicodin, marijuana, sleeping pills, mentioned him being loopy the day of the fire. She talked about domestic violence, where it was always his fault, never hers. She talked about, you know, particularly the incident at Thanksgiving before the fire, where she was so distraught that her friend Kate Fox had to call police for her. And then the night before the fire, where he attempted to rape her, she talked about him not working hard enough, not working often enough. She told a story about one time Todd declared that he was leaving, and anybody who's going to come with me, meaning the boys, should get in the car right now. And she made it into this story that he repeated several times, and no one came with him. So it was just little things like that, where she was always pointing out bad things.
And that kind of recapped yesterday.
Yes.
So how much was this insurance claim that she was submitting?
Oh, I believe she was, it ended up being over $400,000. I don't have, I could look up the exact number if you'd like.
I think that that's a general. I think we're good with that.
Yes.
And then
Close to 5, if I recall.
close to 5?
Yes.
And then did she tell you that she'd received any other insurance money when you interviewed her?
She had received, I think it was $90,000 from perhaps a life insurance policy. We talked about I think it was in the October statement with her.
So I'm going to do things a little bit different today. The jury has the transcripts. They can read everything, the complete transcripts as part of an exhibit. So I'm going to ask you today, we're going to group it into groups. And if you can just summarize, because we do have 2 entire summarize the topics for us.
Sure.
And first of all, I want to ask you, we have a lot of pages of 2 transcripts there.
Yeah.
Why do you ask so many questions about a particular topic?
Well, when we go into these, I mean, the purpose of these is to find out information and also to allow the insured to tell their side of the story. So, you know, I will ask a number of questions and then start to probe into more details on specific topics. You know, what I would always train my attorneys on is that, you know, the truth has a lot of detail to it. And when you make up a story, that's usually pretty shallow. So when someone says something like, I don't know, just as an example, we went to McDonald's, that's a pretty easy thing to come up with. But when I start asking you, well, who drove? What did you order? Those kinds of details. If it really happened, you either remember what happened or you don't remember what happened, but you don't get it wrong. If you're making the story up and now I'm asking you things that you didn't think of, now you start to make it up on the fly and other stories may not match. So when I run into things in an examination where that's an interesting data point or that's different than what other things in the file say, I start to probe deeper, because then the insured will either explain why it looks odd to me, you know, by giving me the details that make sense, or will take the rope to hang themselves because they're going to continue lying. And so when I find something interesting, I've got to get into the details for it to make sense for me to be able to make an informed decision about whether it was true or false.
So as we're going through these topics, if you could describe any inconsistencies that you saw over the course of these transcripts, or maybe things you had to drill in, I'd appreciate it.
All right,
Okay.
I'll do my best.
So let's start out with just the overall topic of the relationship. What did she tell you about affairs?
That she was never unfaithful to him.
So I want to make sure that I'm not asking a wrong question. I don't want you to give me your opinion about her answers. I'm just going to ask you to kind of summarize what she said over the course of these transcripts. So let's start out with affairs. Can you just summarize what she told you about the affairs over the course of the February and the October examination under oath?
She told me that she was never unfaithful to him, that he had accused her of affairs, but that she wasn't having any. There was some concerns about her work, that he had gone to work one time checking up on her. He accused her of having an affair with Kate Fox, and she denied all of those, but apparently she admitted that he had accused her.
And did she say if the horses were any sort of their marriage frustration?
She said that was a wedge issue. She had, I think it was 20 some horses at the time of the fire. At one time she had 49 horses, but they had no barn. So these horses were just out apparently in the field. 20 large animals, I'm sure.
And I'm going to not have you give any opinions. So I just want you to summarize for me, okay?
The wedge issue was both acquiring them and maintaining them was apparently the issue.
And I think we've already talked about the debt, so I'm going to skip over that. So can you summarize then over the course of those two transcripts what she had told you about divorce?
I think we read yesterday some things about Attorney Gaggy, that he had given her paperwork in November. she mentioned that I believe it was a relative of hers wanted her to just slip out, and she said she couldn't leave him without talking to him first. She had talked to Corey apparently a week before the fire about her plan to divorce and leave. She told the story about Todd being sick of everything and wanting to leave that I mentioned earlier. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring at the time of the fire, although she did explain that she works with caulk at work, and so she wouldn't wear it to work, and sometimes she'd forget to put it back on. And when we got into some of the details of the events around the fire, I wanted to clarify whether she intended to leave, and she told me that she knew all along that she was going to leave on that day the fire occurred. But then at the same time, she told me that she never really wanted to get a divorce from him. She was hoping that leaving might prompt him into counseling or something like that. So, but she had given him the paperwork from Mr. Gaggy apparently the night before the fire as part of that fight they had the evening before the fire.
And we already talked about that she had said comments about the Ambien and the marijuana. So I'll skip over those topics.
Sure.
And you talked a little bit about the domestic violence that we were reading yesterday. Were there more instances or questions than pertaining to domestic violence in the marriage?
Well, yeah, I mean, she told a very dramatic story at one point about the night before the fire, him trying to force himself upon her sexually, forcing her legs apart, trying to take off her pants. She threatened to call the police, and that is the only reason why he stopped. But then I'd hear a story about, she gets up the next morning and makes breakfast for him. So again, I had to probe into that area more. Then suddenly it became less rapey and more he just desired to have sex. And then it went back to, no, he was forceful with me. So there was a shifting take on things as I would probe into details. When one thing wouldn't match up with another, I'd ask about it, and then we'd get a slight change.
And did she talk to you about how many times there was any incidents of any physicalness between her and Todd in terms of violence?
She said it was off and on throughout the years, and she was kind of vague about it. That's why I asked her specifically, well, what about police incidences? And she told me about one in 1996, and she told me about Thanksgiving, were the times that police were called, but she was careful to say that she didn't call the police, apparently on either of those occasions. But there was no record of domestic violence, no charges against either of them that I was able to find.
And she told you that?
And she did say that as well, yes.
And any other altercations that she talked about, or the number of incidents that she would have had in her 13-year marriage?
I mean, I think at one point I asked her if it was 20 or 25, and she said that seemed like a high number to her. So it was less than that. But as I dug into details, I guess I didn't follow up on a specific number,
Okay.
and she didn't. I don't think she had one either.
Okay. And we talked about her frustration with Todd's job. Anything additional on that?
I think we read yesterday about that he didn't work smart, and he didn't work hard enough. He didn't work often enough. He didn't make enough money, was basically the gist of it. Mm-hmm.
So now I want to get into the details of the night before.
Sure.
So did she tell you where the boys were the night before?
Well, yeah, what I was interested in, and typically this is my normal MO in these examinations under oath is, whenever you got home before the fire, everything that you did, everything that happened until the fire.
Not being responsive to the question that was asked.
If you could rephrase the question to make
I'm
it
sorry.
so that you can be responsive to it.
Sure.
What's your approach when you're talking about the night before?
I want to know every detail of everything that happened. I want to know everybody who was there. I want to know, because anything could end up causing a fire. So, if you brushed your teeth, do you have an electric toothbrush? If you made breakfast, did you use the stove, right? All of those details, who was home, who left, when did they leave? I get into all those details, starting from the night before or whenever you got home before the fire to whenever you left. And so with this case, it was the night before. She said she got home around 10 or 10:30. I believe she was at her grandmother's maybe 90th birthday party. When she got home, she said that Todd and the boys were home. The boys were in the basement, but when she first got home, she didn't go down there. She talked to Todd at the beginning.
And what did she say that conversation with Todd was?
It turned into a fight about the debit card, use of the debit card, spending money, not recording things in the ledger.
Your Honor, I want to again object to the characterization that's being made in reference to this witness. He's stating that there was a fight, and there's absolutely nothing in the transcript that states that there was a fight.
Can you get them to point where?
I have the exact page numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. So in one of the transcripts, I'm going to have you pull up page 85.
Sure.
Which transcript?
I think they're all labeled 1 to 200 and something. So page 85.
It's in 35. It's in 35.
So did you ask her to describe that conversation on Saturday night on page 85 and 86?
She said that the
Can you stop and
conversation.
tell me what line it is so I can have then Jay bring it up for us?
Right. I'm just looking to try and find the right spot. Back on page 84 at the bottom, she said, line 24 and 25, he screamed a couple of times, but it was argumentative, but quiet. It wasn't calm. Again, she repeated on page 85, no, it wasn't calm, but it wasn't terrible. That conversation lasted about a half an hour. I asked her, so that took us to about 11 o'clock, and she agreed.
So you interpreted that as that they had fought.
Yes.
Again, can we approach?
He screamed at her. Yeah, that's fighting. If someone screams at you, I would say yes, that's fighting.
It may.
So you described, I think you just read in that he screamed a couple times, but it was rather argumentative but quieter, correct?
Correct. She had showed him the divorce paperwork. He told her that she should, quote, pack her shit and leave. At some point, I originally thought it was in the conversation the night before, and then later I think she said that it was Sunday morning, but she said that he said she could have the blazer. She told him Saturday night that the boys would stay with him and that she'd be going to Kim's house.
And I want to talk a little bit about when she was talking about when she went to bed then after this argument.
Right. Initially, that's when she told me that that's when this rape accusation happened, about forcing himself upon her. And then she told him that if he continued, she'd call the police, and he kept yelling.
So she says, I want a divorce. He says, pack your shit and leave. The boys are staying with me. And then he wants to have sex. Yeah, that makes sense.
Her that if she'd just have sex with him, everything would be fine. Eventually, then she told me that she went downstairs to the basement where the boys were watching TV, and told me that she laid on the couch with Trenton and fell asleep and spent the night down in the basement. I said, well, wait a minute, I thought that you were in the bedroom and Todd was forcing himself on her. And then she said that she fell asleep cuddling with the boys, and then she went back upstairs to brush her teeth, and then that's when that happened, and then she went back downstairs to go to sleep.
And so then she said she slept in the basement?
Correct. And then she told a story about Todd fussing with the furnace in the middle of the night, which I guess was also in the basement.
And she said she heard that when she was sleeping in the basement?
Yes.
And did she say what he was doing in the furnace?
He told her that he had to bleed the line because it was blowing cold air, is what she told me.
And did she tell you what she did the day before the fire, on January 6th, before the boys left?
On the day of the fire?
Yes.
Yeah, so she apparently was the first one up. She wanted to go, she wanted to make breakfast for everyone. So she went to the convenience store at the Marathon gas station, bought, I believe it was sausage and eggs. And she said, topped off the fuel tank in her Blazer. I asked her a couple of times, a couple of different ways, if at any point she put gasoline into a gas can. She told me she absolutely did not. She was absolutely sure that she did not put gas in a gas can. She only topped off the tank of the thing, of the Blazer. But then I was struck by the fact that she said that her total purchase
I'm
was,
gonna have you take your,
Yes.
And sir,
Well,
if
he
you
was
could
struck by-
answer the questions without giving your own opinion.
all right, yes, I'd be happy to do that, yes. She also told me that buying all of those things, including topping off the tank on the Blazer, came to about $20. So it must not have been, so that's what she told me.
okay. And then when she got back, you had, I think, alluded to a conversation between her and Todd about using the debit card. Was that also about the debit card used that morning?
I was going to have to use the debit card, although after the fire, I believe.
Oh, I'm going to have you stop you there in terms of just her statements. If you could just talk about her statements.
She said that she didn't have any money to use it other than the debit card. She spent a total of $50, $60 that weekend. And that particular fight, when she got home from the gas station, lasted about 10 minutes. She again described it as him screaming at her while he was sitting at the bar. And apparently then he told her again to just pack her stuff and leave.
Okay. And then did she say what she did after this discussion?
She then decided to go down and wake up the boys and send them out of the house. She gave them money to go to the movies or go shopping, she said, because she thought that she and Todd would be arguing and she didn't want the boys to hear it. And she was going to pack. She explained to the boys that that was the day that she'd be leaving, and they did not seem terribly upset by that, she told me. She also told the boys that they'd be staying with their dad to finish the school year.
And then did she tell you how the boys left?
Yeah, she said that she didn't want to ask Todd permission for them to leave, so they should go out the basement door, is what she told me. I guess it was a walkout house, and they should go out the basement door and leave without saying anything to their father. Later on, she said that she went out the basement door with them because she had to, I believe, do something with the water trough for the horses. And so she went out with them, told them to wait. She got her purse out of the car and put it in the van and sent them away in the Blazer because they didn't like the boys driving the van, which meant that she would have to, she said, use the van to leave Todd. And she told the boys and she told me a couple of times that she told the boys to make sure you call before you come home, because I want to know where you are and where I am, and I may have to come trade cars with you or whatever. But the plan was that the boys would have the car and she would have the van, and Todd would be home with no vehicle.
And did she tell you then approximately what time the boys left?
They left between 11 and 11:30, I believe.
And then did she tell you what she did after the boys left?
Yeah, that's when she apparently went back upstairs and gave Todd breakfast. She said she made plenty of food for the boys to eat, but because Todd was yelling, gave them money for them to eat somewhere else. So she ate in the kitchen, Todd ate in the recliner. She mentioned doing laundry. She mentioned putting Christmas ornaments away.
So I'm going to stop you there. So she makes breakfast and then she says she starts doing these tasks?
Correct.
Okay, and then go on. What task was she doing after breakfast?
She did laundry. She put Christmas decorations away. She said that she did the dishes and like with the dishwasher loaded, unloaded the dishwasher. She said she began to pack a suitcase down in the basement. And then she went upstairs to get some things out of her bedroom. When she was up in her bedroom, she saw a pamphlet for an acne medicine that one of her sons was. And so she lay down on the bed and started reading the acne pamphlet. And then apparently she fell asleep.
Did she say what happened or how she woke up?
She said that when she got up and came out of the room, Todd asked her for juice. Apparently just said, "Do we have juice?" And then she went and got it for him. And then she went back downstairs. And then immediately described when she went downstairs that he was screaming at her, walking around upstairs, flushing the toilet, ranting, raving.
And that's why she knows and he's upstairs.
No way in hell do I cook breakfast for the man that tried to rape me the night before. No way. And why can't he go look in the fridge himself to see if we have juice? What is wrong with this man?
That's what she told him.
Okay. And then did she say what he was screaming?
Things like no one will ever have you, calling her unpleasant names, just basically ranting and raving about their relationship.
And that's when she was downstairs doing laundry.
Correct.
And did she say when he was doing this, telling her these things, what she did down in the laundry room?
At one point, she said she slammed the laundry door in anger, but I don't recall any sort of other retaliation that she did. She said that in her experience, she found that it was best to just let Todd vent his feelings.
And then, so she's downstairs doing the laundry. Did she tell you then what happened?
She said at some point the ranting, screaming turned into screaming when she was folding laundry. And once she heard him scream in a different way, she ran upstairs to see what had happened. When she got upstairs, she saw fire from the half wall between the dining room and the living room to where Todd was standing. I don't know if you have that exhibit 3 from the EUO.
Did you actually have her mark then?
That's when we started having her draw things out for us, yes.
Her story doesn't make any sense at all.
Is this the exhibit that you're referring to?
Yes, and that is her signature on the bottom right corner. So she What we did, I believe I traced the outline of the house because she said that the walls were different than the plans. So we just traced the outline of the house and then she drew the interior stuff. She told me that she came to the top of the stairs, which you can see I had her indicate top at the top of the stairs. And that the fire was from the half wall. You can see half wall next to the dining room to where Todd was standing, which is the small circle over toward the master bedroom.
I'm going to stop you there real quick.
Sure.
So when you say the small circle by the bedroom, let me see if I can get it right there.
Yep.
That little circle, is that the one that she marked where Todd
She
was?
said that's where Todd was standing, and then the and that the chair and the half wall were on fire. But she said there was no fire towards the bedrooms.
Which would be then this side over here.
Correct. And she said that the fire that she saw going from the half wall to that circle did not go to where the fireplace was.
And did she say, once she marked this up and she's describing what she sees, did she tell you what she did?
She ran. She said she ran. She felt like she had to get out of there. And then as she was running out of there, she thought, oh, I should call for help. So she ran toward the kitchen from the top of the stairs. She ran towards the kitchen and out the front door of the house where apparently the van was, and the van had the keys in the ignition. And she decided that she would drive to the neighbors to call for help because her phones were inside the house.
So can you explain, did she talk to you then about what she did when she came out of the house?
Yeah, and this is where things got a bit confusing.
All he needs to do is just read her answer from the transcript.
StreamYard, I am not in the mood for this today.
I can refer to the page, Your Honor, with his answer. We can pull the page up.
Okay.
I think that would be easier because I think when Attorney Willison was saying there's multiple sections in the transcript that address this issue. So it's a summary, and then there's we can go in different transcripts.
Yeah, that's why I asked, he needs to just read. She need to ask it the question from the transcript and the answer that was given. That would be simple.
I'll allow her to proceed in whatever manner she chooses, just like you will be allowed to proceed in your cross as you see fit.
So I want to start out then with maybe the first conversation you had with her. If you can summarize what she said when she went out of the house.
She said, as she came out of the house, she heard a thud behind her and looked back and the door was shut. She did not see Todd come out of the house. She got into the van, was going to turn around, so she backed up straight, she said. And I think this is where we started to have her draw what was marked as Exhibit 4 to the examination under oath.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you then go to, is this the drawing that you're referring
Yep.
to as your Exhibit 4?
Yes, if we
Okay.
could maybe
We'll
zoom
keep
in
this
more.
up. And so she said she backed up straight, and then what happened?
So she backed straight up. She didn't back up very far, and that's when she saw Todd in the yard.
And then
She
did she-
marked the position where she saw Todd in the yard with an X.
And so there's an X marked on this floor plan. Oh,
So right next to the house, if you
Right
zoom
there?
in, right next to the house, she wrote van in the driveway there.
okay, right
And-
where I've got it zeroed in.
And she said she backed straight up the driveway and then saw him standing where the X was.
Okay. All right, and if you could continue. So she saw
She
him.
said he was on fire. She was in the van facing the front door of the house. And then she drew a van with the number 2 in it.
Okay, so we'll pull that up. Oop. Number 2.
Yep.
Okay, what is the number 2?
And that's where the van was when she saw him. So she pulled up and stopped the van in the position where she marks number 3.
And there's 2 number 3s there, and one has a line through it. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, she decided that she had driven off the path, apparently wanted to change the location, so she changed
So
it.
she corrected it. So
Yep.
she crossed off one and she corrected it then with the new place.
She said she drove up there really fast, and she jumped out and screamed at him to just lay down. Apparently Todd was screaming and trying to pull his clothes off. He was jumping and moving and wouldn't lie down no matter what she said. Then Linda told me that she tried to get close to him, but she didn't want to get too close because she didn't want to get burned. She was afraid to touch him. And then she jumped back in the van.
What did she do then once she jumped back in?
When she jumped back in the van, she couldn't get it to go backwards, so she slammed it into gear and went forward to position 4.
Okay, I'm gonna mark position 4, which is here.
Yes.
And what is that dotted line then by number 4?
She said there was a fence line there, and she almost ran through the fence. And then she still couldn't back up, so she decided to go down and behind the house, so further downhill, to try and get traction. And 6 is where she ended up stopping, is what she
So
said.
you said number 6. So
And that is
back
now
here.
behind the house, correct.
Okay.
Obviously, I asked her more questions about why is she heading further away, and she told me that even though it was further downhill, that they would sometimes go down there because it was sandier down behind the house and you could get better traction, so she figured she'd go down there and drive up. But
What do you mean drive up?
drive back up to go out the driveway to apparently go get help. But then she said that she left the van there and she got out of it. She never described to me that she then actually drove back up the hill from being back there. When she got to where position 6 is,
Which is again where?
behind the house.
Behind the house,
Yep.
okay. When she gets to position 6, what does she say she does?
She said that she saw Todd. He was not on fire. He didn't have any clothes on at that point. He was badly burned, and she actually used the phrase that he was like pink melt.
Pink melt?
Pink melt.
Did she
And
say she approached Todd?
She did. She also said that when he was in the state, that she laid on top of him at that point, because I guess the neighbors, Connie and Mike, had seen the smoke and were coming up the driveway. She laid on top of him because he didn't have any clothes on. And then she also said she didn't want him to not be able to breathe. And then she also explained it was because she didn't want him to go into shock or freeze. She said she could feel his heart beating. She could tell that he was breathing, but it was hard for him. She said she put her mouth on his mouth a few times and just tried to give him little breaths. And she could see in that position that Todd's skin was melted.
And then did you ask her at any time if she remembered hitting Todd or how Todd got run over by the van?
Yes, she said she has no memory of that. She said that she had heard about that accusation prior to me talking to her. She has no idea. She told Kate she had no idea how the blood got on the van, and she told Len McHugh that she didn't know if she ran over Todd or if it was just a rumor about her running over Todd. But in all of these drawings and configurations, she never acknowledged or described an event where she hit her husband with a van.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How do you get traction on sand? Well, I'm thinking about Florida sand. Maybe Michigan sand is different. You can't get traction in Florida
Mr.
sand.
Willison, counsel, your whole purpose
While he was
for
on fire,
the
she wouldn't
examination
touch it.
under oath is based on a contractual relationship that you had with an insurance company. Isn't that correct?
I did not have a contractual relationship with the insurance company other than being retained as.
Well, I mean, you were retained by either the insurance company
Yes.
or an agent of the insurance
The
company,
insurance
right?
company, yes.
And when do you know when you were retained by the insurance company in reference to this case?
I don't have that at my fingertips, but if I recall, it would have been a couple of weeks before this first examination under oath.
Before the first examination?
Before the first one, yes. So my guess would be late January, early February.
Okay. And were you advised at the time that you was retained that the insurance status as it relates to the property of Mr. and Mrs. Stermer, that whether or not they had insurance at the time of the fire?
Yes, I was told that they were behind on payments, that they had received, I believe, their second notice that it was going to be canceled. But on the day of the fire, the policy was still in legal effect.
Are you sure that the policy was in effect on the date of the fire? Or was the policy not paid on the date of the fire? And there was information provided that showed that the policy, the insurance was paid at a later date after the fire.
Now that you mentioned that, I do recall that it was a situation where if she came in and made payment, they would reinstate it without lapse, which meant that there would be coverage for the day of the fire. You know, my concern was there a policy in place that would cover the events of January 7? And the answer to that was yes. But I believe you're right that happened because she made a payment after the fire where the insurance company reinstated without lapse.
In reference to your being retained, you have a certain amount of information that you are capable of obtaining in reference to verify and corroborate information. Is that correct?
Yes, so as the attorney, I like quarterback a number of resources,
Yeah.
investigators, things like that.
And the insurance company provides you a portfolio of the property and the insured, don't they?
I don't know what you mean by portfolio.
Well, you are provided with information in reference to the house,
I would get claim documents. So I
claim
would get-
documents.
Right,
Yes.
so the policy of insurance, any recorded statements that were taken, early on, there's not going to be any expert reports, but I would eventually get expert reports that would have photographs and things. I'd get adjuster photographs. Sometimes, or eventually, I would get underwriting information, like when we first wrote the policy, did we have a floor plan? Did we have photographs? So I'd get things like that.
Yeah, so you had all that information in reference to this case, right?
I don't know if I had that when I first was retained, but eventually I got all that, yes.
Were you able to determine that in reference to the insurance documents that the policy was in either Mr. Stermer's name, or was it in Ms. Stermer's name? Or was it in both their names?
I would have to look at the policy to be certain of that. What I know is that because they were married and living together at the time, that even if it was in Todd Stermer's name only, she would be what's considered a named insured.
Yes.
But she would also be considered a named insured if her name was on the policy. So because there wasn't a distinction for me, I don't recall.
Do you have the policy here with you today?
I don't. I might be able to pull it up on my computer, but
Could you check and see?
sure.
That's another thing I don't have experience with, because of snow. See, Florida sand, I don't understand that kind of stuff. I'm thinking, how do you get traction on sand? I wasn't even thinking about snow. Because in Florida, it's sugar sand. You get stuck in sugar sand. I've gotten stuck in sugar sand. You don't get traction on sand in Florida. I put a comment on the screen. StreamYard, stop it.
Not doing that.
Well, yeah, it makes sense now. See, I wasn't thinking about snow. I was just
It
thinking
is
sand
not
because of Florida.
getting very good service, so I'm not able to pull up the policy. Sure, that'd be fun, yeah. Thank you. Okay, now apparently I am logged on.
Did he make him pull up their insurance policy right there on the stand? Good Lord.
I have several documents in here I'm scrolling through. Um, There we go. The policy of insurance.
Beg your pardon?
What was your last question of him?
The policy on the property,
Okay,
the amount of
the amount.
policy and the name.
That was the
Okay.
wrong,
Thank you.
that was an auto policy I just pulled up, so let me see if I get a different. I don't have the policy in front of me, but I have a document that would be taken off of the policy. It says that the insured is Todd and Linda Stermer.
Okay, and what was the policy amount?
Well, I have a reserve amount, but I guess I'm gonna have to find the actual policy, so please hold. A number of the file documents were not retained due to the age of the file. But I believe that's the wrong file. Again, I'm not finding the actual policy of insurance, but I do see a document that seems to indicate if you added all the coverages up, it'd be $504,675.
But those are not coverages just for the cost of, in reference to the policy that was covering for fire loss, so was it?
The dwelling, the contents, and something called loss of use.
Yes. And you say the total was $500,000?
504, yes.
Now, in your In your retainer agreement, part of what you are also provided is information in reference to the payment history of the individual insured. Isn't that correct?
Almost never. If I request it, if it becomes an issue, then I will get that. But
How did you know that Ms. Stermer did not know that there was insurance coverage on the property because it had not been paid?
how did I know that she did not know?
Did Ms. Stermer tell you that she didn't know that they had insurance because Mr. Stermer had failed to make the premiums payments?
I believe she did tell me that she wasn't aware that they had insurance. Yes.
And you were able to verify that because you testified that you was provided information that the policy was not paid, but she was told to come in and make the payment on the policy,
I was
right?
provided that information. Yes.
Yeah. And do you know how many months the policy had not been paid prior to the fire?
I do not know.
You don't know?
No.
Did you ever obtain that information from anyone with the insurance company?
I don't know if I did. The only thing I cared about is whether or not the insurance company was going to say there was a policy in place for that date. And they said there was. So that's all I cared about.
Do you know the name of the insurance agent that contacted you, the representative from the insurance company that contacted you?
Well, it wouldn't have been the agent. It goes to the insurance company. They
Yes.
have, in this particular case, it was a gentleman named Rodney Thuma.
Rodney Thuma.
Yes.
Okay. And did you have conversations with Mr. Thuma back and forth as you conducted the depositions with Ms. Stermer?
You mean the examinations under oath?
Well, yes, if you call that.
Yes. Well, there's a difference. And yes, I certainly would have spoke to him. Sure.
Okay. Did Mr. Thuma provide you information that you needed to inquire of Ms. Stermer in reference to the fire?
Well, everything I got from the insurance company came through Mr. Thuma. So yes, I suppose he provided me information. Yes.
Did Mr. Thuma provide you information in reference to some of the issues as it relates to the cause of the fire?
I guess I'm going to object on hearsay. We're asking now then what Mr. Thuma told him about the cause of the fire. I think we're getting into some hearsay issues here. If he wants to talk in generalities, that's fine, but we're going to talk specifics. It's hearsay.
But it's not hearsay if I talk in generality?
Well,
I mean, I'm trying to judge.
What are you
and-
offering
and-
it for? What are you offering the testimony for?
It's being offered to confirm the questions that he had to use to rely upon when he was examining my client under oath.
Okay, and so I'm finding it's not the truth of the matter asserted, so I'll allow you to ask the question.
Yes.
I'm really not sure where we're going with it. No one gives me questions for anything, but I was told that they believed it was an intentionally set fire. If that's what you're asking.
And what did they tell you it was believed on?
What was it believed on?
Yeah, I mean, you were told that they who believed it was an intentional fire.
Your Honor, I think we're getting a little beyond the intent of why these statements are being offered. If he wants to ask if he received Scott Leroy's reports, I would be okay with that. But when we're starting to ask the questions this way, I feel like we're getting into a different area.
Your Honor, I believe, may we approach? Yes. Yes, you can answer, sir.
Okay. Based on the findings of both the state police and one of the best private fire investigators in the state, they both had the same opinion that this was an intentionally set fire preliminarily. And so I went forward on that, and then I would find out their final conclusions later on.
And so basically, when you set Ms. Stermer for an examination under oath, and she agrees to be set for examination under oath.
Yes.
You're in essence, your whole mission is to interrogate, to be able to validate what you had been provided from who you said was one of the best state fire investigators in the state. And that basically is what you was trying to do, right?
Well, I wouldn't expect the insured to be able to validate forensic analysis, but the information about where the fire was, statements she made, her side of the story, like I said earlier, all of that would certainly be part of it, yes. But as far as understanding fire patterns and knowing what is important and what isn't important, I wouldn't expect a layperson to know that. That's what experts are for.
But in your examination,
Yes.
you're looking for misstatements and inconsistent statements. Would that be fair to say?
I'm asking to get details of the story, and I am aware when misstatements are made, and I dig into that more. Yes, absolutely. But that's not the purpose. I'm not trying to give misstatements. I would hope and assume that once I put someone under oath, they're going to tell me all the truth, but they don't always. And when they don't, then I make note of that and I dig deeper into those issues.
So my next question is, how do you determine what the truth is and what is not the truth?
Well, me personally, I will take all of the information I gather. I try to not make that decision at all while I'm in the statement. I gather all the information and I compare what I was told with what I can verify from outside sources, from what common sense says, what makes logical sense, whether the story from this person has changed or stayed the same. And then I put it all together and say, I think that they are making misrepresentations, or I think they're telling the truth.
And so you do take this examination under oath and the answers you obtained from my client, and then you took those questions and answers and you compared it to information that was provided to you from the investigators, the state investigator, and you compared it to information that was provided to you from one of the experts, right?
Yes.
And then you made a conclusion and told the insurance company that, in your opinion, Ms. Stermer had not given you truthful answers. Would that be true?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, when you asked Ms. Stermer about the marital relationship,
Yes.
were you able to corroborate the information she provided to you in reference to how long they had been married and in reference to the family nucleus as far as the children, her husband, his employment, her employment, and what their financial status was?
Well, that's a big question.
But it was all part of your.
But that, well, there's like 8 issues in that question.
Okay, well,
but
then-
yes, I was able to verify
Yeah.
that they were married. I was able to verify that, I came to the conclusion that this was a tumultuous relationship that was in the process of ending. I came to the conclusion that they were financially strapped, although I did not necessarily conclude that that was a new condition, right? Because that's one of the things I look for, is a change in financial circumstances. When you just live a certain lifestyle, you become used to it. That doesn't create pressure. It's when the change to your lifestyle happens, that's what can create pressure. And I didn't see a big change in their financial situation. And I'm trying to think of what the other topics were that
What did you base the change in their financial status? What did you base that on? Did you able to go outside of the conversation with Mrs. Stermer?
we asked for bank statements from Ms. Stermer. We looked at those kinds of things.
Okay, just let me stop right there.
Sure.
You got Ms. Stermer's bank statements?
Yes.
Okay. And the bank statements, was there anything unusual about Ms. Stermer's bank statements?
I don't know what you mean by unusual.
Well, I mean, did it show that she made deposits in reference to her employment?
As I recall, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you verify how long she had been employed?
I don't think I bothered with that. No.
Did you check on various places where she had worked?
No.
Okay. Did you check on various places where Mr. Stermer had worked?
No. Well, Mr. Stermer? No.
Yes, yes.
No.
Did you do any type of financial background on Mr. Stermer?
Not much, because as I put the information together in this, my conclusion was that this was not a financially motivated fire, and so digging into the finances wasn't necessary. There was a different motive for this fire.
So in other words, what you stated in reference to finances, there was nothing unusual that gave you any red flags that an individual would have burned down their house because of their financial status, right?
Asking him to speculate at this
Well,
point.
Well, no,
Okay.
like I said, one of the things I look at when I'm determining whether or not there's a financial motive for a fire is, was there a change, a sudden, like a loss of a job, a bankruptcy, a change in a health condition, or a promotion, a new job, something positive. I didn't see a dramatic change, positive or negative, in their financials.
But you would have had to go outside of the examination under oath with Ms. Stermer in order to verify those facts, though, right?
Correct. What I found outside was consistent with what she told me about finances. Yes.
And part of your examination under oath also in reference to these type of cases is that you also have to try to verify whether or not the individual has made any prior claims in reference to losses, right?
Sure, that's a relevant data point. Yes.
Yeah.
This time, and please remember your rules. We'll make it about a 15-minute break. Jury, and so you're reminded that you're still under oath.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Willison, I believe right before the break, I was had asked if there were any other claims that you had verified or tried to inquire of Mr. or Mrs. Stermer in reference to FAR claims?
She told me that they had a claim together before they were married, but I think after around the time they had their first child together, that they had a fire claim on a place they lived, that the claim was paid, but then later she mentioned that they had to go to court to get paid.
Okay. Was that a claim in reference to the fire that a house that they were living in?
At the time, yes.
Okay. Okay. And you didn't find that to be suspicious of anything as it related to the claim that was being made in reference to this fire, though, right?
I certainly would have if I thought this was financially motivated, but because I didn't think this one was, then that became less relevant.
Okay. And
Hey, come here.
you stated that there was some issues of domestic violence.
That's what she told me.
She told you that?
Yes.
She used the word domestic violence?
No, that's a
Okay,
term of art.
and that's what I want to
Yes.
make sure of.
Yeah.
Ms. Stermer never told you that she was living in a marriage of domestic violence.
She
did
told me that the husband she lived with struck her. That's the definition of domestic violence.
But you can't verify that there was any domestic violence based upon your position and your job for the insurance company. You didn't verify that there was any domestic violence in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Stermer. Is that correct?
Right. Based on the
Thank you.
information I had, I thought there was not.
Thank you. And
But she told you there was.
there's nothing unusual
So you're calling your client a liar.
about a husband and wife having a disagreement in reference to marital affairs and not wanting their children to be privy to a conversation about that.
Is he asking for his opinion on that? What is he asking? Is it speculation? I'm not sure.
Well,
Your response?
approach. Because I'm going to ask another question.
So she tells him that there's domestic violence. Whether or not she uses the word, she tells him that. And then her attorney gets up there, basically accuses her of lying. Why?
I'm going to go out of order just a little bit, Mr. Willison.
Sure.
You've made a final report in reference to this case, didn't you?
I sent a letter to my client giving them my opinions on the case, yes.
Do you have that letter?
That'd be attorney-client privilege, sir.
So you don't write a report, you just write a letter?
Yes.
And in the letter, did you state that there was domestic violence?
You're asking me to tell you what legal advice I gave my client? I can't do that. You know that.
Well, I'm asking you.
Based on the answers to this question, I'm going to object at this point, Your Honor.
If you want to ask me what I concluded about this particular case, I can tell you that.
What did
But I
you
can't
conclude?
tell you what I told my client.
What did you conclude? That would be in your letter, right?
I'm not going to tell you what was in my letter.
Okay, well, what was your conclusion? Did you put your conclusion in something of a report?
I'm not going to tell you what was in my correspondence to my client, but I can
I
tell
don't,
you
I don't
what my
want your
conclusion was. If
I don't want your correspondence from your
Okay,
client.
both of you are talking
Okay.
at the same time, now I've got an
I think
objection
his
coming.
conclusions infringe upon the ultimate issue that this jury is to decide. So I would object at this point.
Well, are you testifying from your conclusion?
Your Honor, I guess the court should.
Yeah, I'm gonna-
before the questions asked.
I'll sustain that objection.
Let me ask you this. You stated, because there was a statement that was made that I think is a very strong statement in reference to Ms. Stermer. There was a question that you brought out on direct as related to a couple of nights before the incident or the night before the incident, in which you stated that Mr. Stermer had a desire to be with his wife, and you stated that that he tried to rape her.
yes,
You've read your transcript.
yes,
You have the transcript.
I do. Mhm.
I'd like for you to refer to page 246 of the transcript. And this would be, I think, the October the 18th transcript,
I'm at 246.
246.
Yes,
And your question on line 20, you see that?
yes,
Your question, you described some pretty heavy fighting Saturday night, sounds like. That's your question, right?
yes,
And the answer, I don't even recall that it was heavy fighting. That's Ms. Stermer, right?
that's what she told me in October.
But
Yes.
that's her answer, right?
Yes, in February, she said he was screaming.
But just let me finish this question
Okay.
first. And the next stated that I know we argued some, right?
That's what it says, yes.
Line 24. This is your question. Didn't he try to rape me?
Yes.
That's your question, right?
Yes. Now, obviously that was,
Just counsel, if you just let me do this, we'll get to the next
I'm
one
just
later.
addressing this last word,
But-
me, as probably a typo or I
It-
misspoke.
Probably a typo, but I'm just
Yes.
relying on
Yep, that's what it
exactly what I
says.
got,
Sure,
okay?
yep,
And the answer, no, he didn't try to rape me. He wanted to have sex.
yes,
He tried, I had my clothes on still.
that's what she said in October, yes.
Did you ask that same question again in another setting?
Yes, earlier in February, I referred to it as when he tried to rape you, and she did not object or disagree with me.
So you were asking the same questions in one setting of the examination under oath. And then months later, you have her to come back and set again for an examination under oath. And you start trying to see if you could ask questions to get her to give an inconsistent statement.
That's not true.
Okay.
I
But
asked,
why would you,
if you'd
my
like me to-
question is first,
Answer the questions with a yes or no, please do so.
sure, okay.
So my question is, why would Mr. Thuma that was present, who is the insurance agent or the insurance representative, Farm Bureau, right?
Yes,
He was present at both of these depositions, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So you get the answers that you are looking for under the examination under oath in the first setting. Why did you have to go back and have another examination under oath?
Well, as I stated earlier in my testimony, we did questions about and surrounding the fire early on, and then we did a second examination under oath related to the claim and other financial information that we gathered during the course of the investigation.
But how would sex have anything to do when you're talking about just the claims or the amount of the losses? How would that have anything to do with that?
Well, I'd be happy to tell you.
Well,
I asked a premise question that said that you guys were doing some heavy fighting that night because her story was starting to morph. And she said, well, we weren't really fighting. And I said, didn't he try to rape you? That's how that came up.
Okay, so you put the words in her mouth of, didn't he try to rape you? And she said no.
I took what she described and summarized it with
You
the
summarized
word.
it in
Yes.
your opinion that that's what she was saying.
Yes.
That's what was going to happen.
Yes, the story about when he was trying to pry her legs open
Yeah.
and rip her pants
You
off.
assumed that was rape.
Yes.
Sir, you need to really focus on just answering the question
Very
and
well.
not speaking over the attorney.
Thank you. I will.
That's describing what he called it. Good Lord.
Now, what did you do to verify these answers that you received from Ms. Stermer? Did you do any outside investigation with anyone else, whether it's the police department or the investigators or the state fire marshal in reference to the information that you received before you wrote your letter to your insurance agent or your insurance company?
I gathered information from all kinds of sources, including the stuff that the police, whether it's state fire marshal or the county sheriff's department, were willing to give. The financial information, some stuff that we got from the insured, some stuff that we gathered on our own, things that the insurance company can access. So yeah, there was a number of things I looked at. Sure.
So were you able to verify that in the beginning of this claim, the very first inception of information that the Farm Bureau received, that it was not by Ms. Stermer?
I have no idea what you mean by that.
Well, your file, were you able to find that Ms. Stermer was not the person that contacted the insurance company in reference to this loss?
You mean the first contact?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't recall if there was some sister involved. I don't know if the sister told her to make the claim or the sister made the claim on behalf of Todd, and then Linda got drawn into it. There was something like that, but that wasn't a real big issue for me, so I didn't.
But part of your examination under oath of the individual that you're examining is ultimately to determine whether or not this individual may have been making this claim because of some fraudulent basis.
Correct. To
All right.
see whether it was a financially motivated.
And if a person was going to commit fraud on an insurance claim, wouldn't they be the person that would reach out to their insurance company and say, I have a loss? Well,
You can ask him how often that happens or something like that, but the way the question's phrased right now is speculation.
Typically, if you're doing it for money, then That's one of the first things you take care of.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ms. Stermer did not make that call or contact anyone with Farm Bureau.
Correct. Immediately after.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, but she went and made sure that it was paid up, didn't she?
Could I have just a question for a second, Your Honor? Throughout both of these examinations under oath, you set a time for Ms. Stermer to appear at your office, is that correct?
I don't think they were at my office.
Or did they do the examination under oath, was it at your office?
No, typically we would rent a conference room in the county where the fire occurred.
But wherever the location was, it's
Yeah,
pretty
we
much
told her where to
controlled-
go. Yes.
Controlled by you, date and time.
Yep.
And you communicated with Ms. Stermer as to when you wanted her to be there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, through her attorney.
Through her attorney.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
And at each setting, Ms. Stermer appeared, is that correct? On the date and time that you all had arranged for, right?
Yes, I think there were a couple that got canceled, but yes, the two statements, I mean, she was there, yeah.
And throughout the duration of both of these examinations under oath,
Spike.
Ms. Stermer fully
What?
cooperated
Spike.
with every question that was asked of her. Isn't that true?
I would disagree with that.
Did she answer every question that was asked of her?
Why did
Yes,
you
she
do
did.
that?
So anything else would be your opinion, right?
Sure, you can put it that way.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Why do you go outside?
I just want to clear up one thing, Your Honor. When you were talking about working with the great fire marshal or whoever, however you titled it,
Fire investigators.
fire investigator, who was that?
Jim Shinsky ran one of a nationally renowned fire school for years.
So that's who you were talking
I was
about.
talking about Mr. Shinsky, yes.
You weren't talking about anything that the state police had done or anything in terms of that statement.
When I said one of the best fire investigators, I was referring to Mr. Shinsky. We did also get information from the state police.
Okay, but that's not who you were talking about when you made that statement.
Correct.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Damn it, I
I have
misread
no
it.
further questions, Your Honor.
Jury, questions of this witness, anyone? Yep, I've got some hands going up.
As long as y'all don't start singing Baby Shark. Where did my hook go? I don't know why that dog has to go outside. What does he do when he goes outside? He just comes inside and pees on my carpet. What, you don't know the Baby Shark song? Oh Lord, now I have to sing it. Baby shark do 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 do, baby shark do 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 do, baby shark do 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 do, baby shark. Mama shark do 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 do, mama shark do 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 do, mama shark do 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 do, mama shark. Daddy shark do 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 do, daddy shark do 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 do, Daddy shark, do 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 do. Daddy shark. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do
Sir, I
do
have
do
some
do
questions
do.
from the jury, and jury, I did determine under
You're
the law not
welcome.
to ask some of the questions. In exhibit number 4, Linda's drawing, if you know, what does the van spot number 5 represent?
I believe she told me that when she got to position 5 is when she decided that she should go behind the house. So 4 was at the fence line. 5 is apparently where she decided she couldn't back up, and 6 is when she went behind the house.
Thank you. Counsel, any questions in light of the question and answer, either side?
No, Your Honor.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Jury, any other questions of him? May he be excused from his subpoena?
I'd ask that you please be excused, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You're all done.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Carla. I'm a theater kid. I love to sing.
Ms. Ivy?
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Brad Stermer to the stand, please. Your Honor, may I approach and grab these?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sir, before you have a seat, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please have a seat, and once settled in, we'll have you state your full name and spell the last, please.
My name is Brad Stermer.
Oh no, Billy.
And then if you could put that microphone close to your mouth so the jury can hear you. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Stermer. Can you tell me how you know Todd Stermer?
Todd is my younger brother, was my younger brother.
And can you tell me if you know Linda Stermer?
I do.
How do you know her?
She was married to my brother, Todd.
And after the fire occurred on January 7th of 2007, did you have conversations with Linda Stermer about what had happened?
Yes,
Can you tell the jury what she told you?
yes. It was like 2 days or so after the fire when my whole family had gotten in town and we had gone over to the house where they were staying with friends. And we didn't have a lot of information on the fire or what happened. And so we asked her to sit down and explain what happened. And she sat down and I said, we need to get our head around this. What happened? She said that she was down in the basement doing laundry and she heard Todd scream. And she came running up and the living room was on fire with a lot of smoke and she just turned and ran out the front door.
Did she tell you anything specifically about fire alarms?
Well, I'd asked her, I said, you didn't hear the fire alarms going off. I mean, their house, wasn't that big. And I knew we had fire alarms in there because I'd helped them pull wire for them. And she said, oh, Todd dismantled them. And
so when you say you helped pull wire for them, what was your involvement on that house?
When I helped Todd probably, 6-7 times over the years trying to, build his house. And so at different stages of the development, I would be in town and I would help him. And we were getting ready to do drywall, but you have to run the electrical wiring to the outlets and the boxes and so forth. So we were doing that. And I made a comment to him one time. I said, why don't you just buy those $20 battery ones? And he says, you can't. He says, it's code. You have to have it hardwired with a battery backup. And I said, oh.
Objection, hearsay.
I can rephrase the question.
Thank you, sustained.
So you helped him then in terms of putting those smoke detectors in?
I helped him get the wiring to where those were gonna go because that was an additional.
And so at that time, all of these smoke detectors you helped were going to be hardwired?
Yeah,
There's leading, so if you could rephrase.
How were you then going to, were these the type of smoke detectors you were just going to put on the wall, or were they going to be hardwired?
no, they had to be hardwired because you have to meet the code, and the code says you have to have them wired to the electrical box. And then any new development back then, it would have a battery backup, like a 9-volt battery with it. So yeah, even if you took the battery out, technically it would still work because it's still hardwired in.
Do you recall how many smoke detectors you helped him install, or how many per room?
I don't recall. It was a pretty good sized house, at least 4, from what I remember.
Were those 4 on the entire house or 4 on a level? Do you remember?
Well, it was because there was a bedroom in the basement that was all floors, and there was a loft bedroom. So, I mean, that was on every floor that we ran and wired to hook up.
So you said when you had this conversation with Linda, it was a few days after the fire?
Yeah.
And can you describe what her demeanor was when you were having this conversation with her?
She was, appeared to be upset, but she was able to talk with us until I asked her about the fire alarms, and then she got up and left the room.
Did you then try to ask her any more questions?
We couldn't because she left the room, and, we didn't want to upset her anymore at that time.
So you said you had assisted in helping Todd build that home. What did you assist with?
I helped him. I was there the first day when we framed the first wall, in the basement. I mean, so I started the first day, but I helped him with windows. I helped him with drywall. I helped him with wiring, help dig a trench, whatever I could do when I was in town to help him.
Do you have a background in construction?
No.
And so why were you helping? What was your knowledge of construction?
Well, over the years, I've owned some houses and I've done it, and I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I just like to do that kind of work. And I like, he's my brother. I wanted to help him. I've helped mostly family and friends. I don't do it for a living or anything, but I do enjoy working with my hands.
Had Todd had Todd remodeled and built things before?
Oh, yeah, he was pretty good at it. He did jobs. I mean, I know not just for friends and family, but for other people. I mean, so he did. He was much better carpenter than I was.
Do you know if those smoke detectors were inspected after you helped?
I don't know that. I know he said, the inspection was coming.
I can work on that.
I'm so confused.
Were you aware that Todd and Linda had financial issues?
I knew they weren't living the high life. Yeah.
Were you aware of any money that they had borrowed from family?
Yeah, I had loaned Todd some money.
Did you ever see Todd and Linda fight before?
Not fight, but he would get, to the point where he was a little annoyed with her, like, Linda, we're busy here, we're working on the house, and she'd come in and start rattling off about something, and we're trying to put up a 10-foot sheet of drywall. It was, not convenient. So he didn't yell at her like, get out of here. He's just like, we're busy right now.
So did you ever see him have any physical violence between them?
No.
Did Linda appear afraid of Todd?
No.
Were you involved? You talked about remodeling with Todd. Were you involved in remodeling a house with Todd? I believe that was it your father?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that house?
Yeah, it was in our family. It was the little house. We call it the little yellow house. It was the next door to where we lived and grew up. And it was a rental. My dad always rented it, kept it rental. And so when my dad had a stroke and was still in rehab, Todd said, let's fix up the little yellow house and I'll move my family in there and then I can keep an eye on Dad and help him out. And so we started, it was vacant, had been vacant for a while. So it was pretty rough shape. And so we started with roofing and drywall and so forth.
Yeah, and were you aware if Todd and Linda had ever moved into that house?
No.
And did your father still live in the big house?
Yes.
And did something happen with your father?
Yeah, he passed away. And so we stopped the work for the most part. But I think Todd was thinking, well, we got this far, we're almost done. But yeah, he decided, he wanted to see if he could buy my dad's house from my sisters and I.
Would that have been the little house or the big house?
The big house, I'm sorry.
So
It would have been all of them. It would have been the whole.
The entire property?
Right, the property.
And so did Todd and Linda move into the big house?
Yes,
And they were living in there?
yes.
And at that time, were you then still working on the remodeling of the little house?
No, I was not involved at that time.
Okay. And you still had an interest in the property?
No,
A financial interest?
no, I did not.
Okay. And that was your father's property?
That was my dad's property.
And do you recall how much work you guys did on that
Yeah,
house?
we did a lot of work and then, and at that time I was just, not too far out of college. So, I mean, we were, it wasn't like we were buying the best of the best, but yeah, with the roofing and stuff, we were kind of putting our nickels together to do stuff,
Did you have to do drywall and?
Yeah.
So,
The roof leaked, so the first thing we had to do was get the roof fixed. And so we redid the roof and then we started, with the drywall.
and so how much did you have to tear out?
Well, it was a mess. I mean, had been vacant for a while, and so it was quite a bit. I mean, we didn't have a dumpster yet, but we had tarp, and we were throwing stuff out, and with the insulation and old drywall and stuff like that.
And so you had to put in all new drywall,
Yeah,
all new flooring?
yeah. I didn't do any of the flooring, but I did help them with a lot of the drywall.
And Todd and Linda were living in the big house at that time?
No, at the time when we were working on the yellow house, no one lived. My dad wasn't even there yet. He was still in the rehab, I think, after his stroke. And so he was coming home and we were trying to hurry up and get the little house built or, livable. So I don't know where they were living at that time.
At some point, did they move into the big house?
Yes.
And you still had your father's estate still owned the little house?
Yes.
And did something happen to that house?
Yeah, it burned down months later.
And was it just the little house?
Yeah.
And at that time, were Todd and Linda living in the big house?
Yeah, they were.
And you had said most of the work was already done at that point?
Yeah.
Was Todd a physically fit guy?
Very athletic and still played softball and did, he was basketball. He was still very much into sports and very much, active. He worked for a living with his hands, so he was very physically fit.
You had any other conversations with Linda then, other than just the few days after the fire?
No.
Had you been to Todd and Linda's house before it burned down?
Yes.
Several times?
Oh, yeah.
Were you there close to the time that it did burn?
We were there at Christmas. We went over there for Christmas several weeks before.
And can you talk about whether there was a trail on the, if I'm looking at the house, it would have been to the north side, on the right-hand side, was there a trail or a path going down?
No. When they were building the house, and it was all dirt and that we could drive around the side, but it was a pretty good hill and there was clay in that soil. So if it were wet or rainy, you wouldn't want to go down there because you need a 4-wheel drive to get back up. But after they got the house pretty much built and living there, he had graded it and it was yard, essentially grass.
It was yard at that time?
Yeah.
So used during construction, but then,
Yeah.
to your knowledge,
After that, yeah.
once the house was done
Yeah, there was no trailer.
and it was all graded and
Yeah.
lawn. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Stermer.
Joy.
When you talked to Linda Stermer, this was within 48 hours of her losing her husband, correct?
How about that? Yeah.
You losing your brother? Yes.
Yes.
And the family, including you and Linda and Todd's sons, were there at her friend's
Yes.
house? Would that be Kate Swift?
I believe that was her name. Yeah.
Your mom was there.
Yes.
Obviously, Linda Stermer was emotionally distraught,
Yes.
as were you. Having lost your brother 40. Yes?
Yes.
Everybody was emotionally distraught. It was a very emotional time given the loss.
Yes.
She heard Todd scream and she ran up the stairs, correct?
Yes.
And after that, when she got emotionally distraught, she went somewhere into another room and no more conversations about the fire.
Yes.
And no more conversations since then with Linda.
No.
Fair?
Fair.
These smoke alarms, you said, let me make sure if I get this right. You would help Todd build the house. It took a lot of years, probably 7 or 8 years.
I helped with different phases of the house. Yeah.
Were you out of state?
I lived in the Upper Peninsula.
Okay. So you would come down on occasion, and if you had time, you would help Todd on the weekends?
Yes.
It was him mostly building the house, correct?
Yeah. Doing whatever he needed help with.
Okay. You were not any type of licensed electrician, am I right?
No.
You're good with your hands, and you say you're a good handyman, right?
I'm adequate.
All right. You were not a licensed electrician, neither was Todd.
No.
Am I right?
Right.
And you helped wire the alarm system, do the electrical for the
I didn't
smoke
wire
alarms?
it. We just pulled the wire so that we could get like the electrical boxes before we put the drywall up. You have to, but we never wired anything. I never wired anything.
Okay, that was up to Todd.
That was yes.
Did you actually install these hardwired smoke detectors?
No.
When Linda told you, and you asked her about how come smoke alarms didn't go off, remember you told us that?
Yes.
And Linda told you they weren't working or something, and Todd,
She said Todd had dismantled them.
okay. You don't have any evidence to help us to disagree with that, am I right?
Well, the people, my mom and sisters that were in the room would corroborate that.
Understood. But you don't have any evidence that suggests that Todd did not disconnect the
No.
smoke alarms, am I right?
Right.
You and Todd were close as brothers,
Yeah, we got along good.
but he frustrated you in terms of his financial irresponsibility, didn't he?
Not so much Todd, but Linda.
Do you recall telling a police officer that Todd didn't like to work a 40-hour week?
I don't recall that. He was not a traditional 9-to-5 guy.
Okay. He didn't like to punch a time clock, right?
Right.
He didn't like to go to work every day where he had to get up and put in a full day's work, right?
No,
Am I right?
no,
I'm not right?
you're not right.
Okay, can I approach? Thank you. I'm going to show you, sir, a report based on an interview you did with a Van Buren County detective. I want you to read that orange highlighted paragraph.
He was a good carpenter.
No, you read to yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Does that refresh your memory that you told the detective that Todd did not like working a job where he must get up every day and go to a certain job, as he described, punching a time clock.
Right.
So that is what you told him.
That's right.
And he was, Todd, you had loaned him money, correct?
Yes.
Your mom had loaned him money, correct?
Yes.
Your sister had loaned him money, correct?
I believe it both at times, yeah.
They were enablers of him not wanting to work, basically.
Did there come a time where you had a family vacation on a lake where you're Delton, Michigan? Remember that?
Yeah.
Family got together?
Yeah.
You and Todd went out on a boat?
Yeah.
And you were having an argument?
Yeah.
And it was about financial irresponsibility of Todd?
There was a lot of things that were being discussed at that time.
Including his financial irresponsibility?
We talked about that, yes.
Was Todd I'm going to say a do-it-yourselfer like you?
Yes.
Did you have any understanding that he had some kind of professional electrical degree?
No, I know he worked for an electrician at one time and did apprentice.
He was never a journeyman to your
No,
knowledge.
he was not a licensed electrician.
And he was not a licensed mechanical guy,
He was not.
HVAC,
No,
but he was the one primarily putting up the house, correct?
he pretty much designed and built the whole thing, yes.
Then let's talk about how this house that used to be your father's, am I right?
Yes.
The yellow house, you said?
Yes.
Okay. How long did that construction take?
I don't remember for sure, but once we decided that he was going to move in there with his family, we were under a timeline because my dad was in rehab from the stroke, and so he was going to be coming home. I don't recall how long, but it was a short time.
Are we talking the remodeling took a month?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Did it involve electrical?
I was not involved in any electrical.
Would it be fair to say, were you up north at the time?
I lived up north, yeah. No, I lived here in Kalamazoo at the time of the Little Yellow House.
All right, we'll talk about the little yellow
Yeah.
house. You lived in Kalamazoo, but primarily Todd was responsible for the remodeling. Would that be fair?
Yeah, well, I was, yeah,
Secondarily, you.
you're right.
And this house burned, you said, within months of the remodeling that Todd was primarily responsible for. Is that right?
I don't remember exactly. It was in November, so I don't know when we stopped working on it. But my dad passed away, I believe, in July. So yeah,
So within 5 or 6 months, fair.
I guess yes.
And this house that Todd was primarily responsible for remodeling, do you know what the cause of the fire was?
No.
Did Todd ever tell you what the cause of the fire was?
Yeah, he said. Yeah.
I guess I object, Your Honor, that's hearsay.
Your Honor, it's not offering for the truth in the matter, sort of just whether he made the statement of what the cause was, not offering for the truth of the cause. We don't know what the cause was, or if he knew the truth of the cause, just what his opinion was.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
But in any event, it was an
I want to
accidental
know the
fire,
cause of the fire
as far as you knew,
Yeah.
based on
because I
his
think
remodeling of the
Todd
house.
set the fire
Yeah.
Thank you.
and accidentally caught himself on fire. I still think she ran over him though.
Just to clarify something, sir. This was the house that Todd was going to, I thought Todd was single at the time.
No, Linda was part of that.
He was going to move the family in, he wasn't going to flip the house.
No, my dad was gonna live in the big house and he could live right next door and help him out.
Okay. And then it burned, and that didn't happen, fair?
No, they had already moved into the big house because my dad passed away.
Understood.
So then they moved, so the little house was vacant.
Okay, so when the little house burned, it was vacant. Did it get rebuilt?
No,
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you were visiting at Christmas time, did you see those smoke detectors in the home?
Yeah,
And did it appear that they were hanging or?
no, they were up, and he had a fire in the fireplace too. So I mean, it wasn't like it was smoking or nothing, but yeah, there was nothing.
And I just want to clarify, when you had your conversation with Linda 2 days after the fire, I think you had testified that she said that she did not see Todd when she came upstairs. Is that correct?
Yeah, she said it was too smoky and, fire, and she just turned and ran outside.
And is that when you asked her about the smoke detectors?
Said, it seemed to me that, yeah, what about the fire alarms going off, because said she was in the basement. So
And at that time, that's when she left. Is that correct?
she said, yeah, he dismantled them, and then she got up and left.
What did you mean when you said Todd wasn't the type of guy to punch a time clock?
He was more of he liked the sales component. He liked to wheel and deal, and he was, he could make more money at it in a shorter period of time than a 9-to-5 job. So
What else did you talk about on Lake Michigan with your brother?
talked about a lot of things. We talked about the horse problem, the horses that she had, and so forth.
So was that part of when you said Linda frustrated you with regard to the horses? Was that part of that conversation?
Well, yeah, I didn't see her really pulling her own weight to help the family kind of get together. I never saw her work on the house when I was down or anything like that. She was really never around when I came down to help.
What was your frustration with the horses?
I think they had like 30, horses, and horses are expensive, and most of them you couldn't ride.
You couldn't ride
couldn't
the
ride
30
them.
horses?
Yeah, these were horses she was gathering from all over the country. She'd go out to the Dakotas or wherever and drag these horses back.
Question two, based on research.
I think they're from the defendant's statements of where they're coming from, Your Honor.
Overrule that objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you said Linda would go places to pick up these horses
Yes,
and you couldn't ride them.
not very many.
And what did she do with them?
You could lay the foundation of.
Did
if
you
he
know what
knows.
she was doing with these horses?
No,
Did you have a chance to view these horses?
to view them.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Did you spend some time around those horses?
Yeah, I rode them. We tried to ride them a couple times.
And when you say, I guess I don't understand, why would you not be able to ride a horse?
You have to be.
They're
You
wild.
can't
They
just
weren't
get on a horse and
trained
ride it.
horses. They weren't daily interaction with people.
So were they, did Linda tell you she was keeping them as pets? Did she tell you that you just wanted them? What was the purpose of these horses from her standpoint? Did she tell you what the purpose of these horses were? Thank you.
No,
And your frustration was over then the finances of the horses?
well, it was about helping the family, helping Todd, helping the kids. I mean, and so we didn't see any real value to having that many horses. I mean, to feed them, make hay in the summer, shoe them if you need to, deworm them. I mean, I don't know that much about horses, but I have a friend that has horses, and I talked to him about it, and and he's like, 30 horses, that's crazy.
I'll strike that.
I'll
That's fine.
sustain that objection.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
A lot of horses.
Let me just follow up. You wouldn't know the reason why Linda Stermer had various types of horses, correct?
It never was clear to me.
And these smoke alarms, when you hardwire something to disable them, it's not as simple as just simply getting on a ladder and taking a battery out, right?
It would still be active if it's wired to the box.
Right. You have to do something more to disable it,
Yes, you
something that
probably have to trip the breakers.
Todd would know how to do.
Sure.
And you, when you were over at Christmas, you wouldn't even know if they were working or not. right?
They weren't hanging down.
No, they don't hang down. They're attached to a wall. You wouldn't know if they were operative or not. Fair?
Fair.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Jury, do you have any questions of this witness? I see one. You have one? Okay. Another one's being written, it looks like.
Well, you can't just get on any horse and ride it. They have to be broken. And if they're just green broke, you have to be an experienced horse person to ride a green broke horse.
Questions from the jury? When you were at the house for Christmas, what was the state of the living room floor? Was it carpeted, finished, or something else?
It wasn't carpeted or anything, wasn't finished. There was a area rug, more in like the center of the room, kind of.
To the best of your knowledge, if you know, did Linda like her dogs?
I believe she did.
Any questions, counsel?
Just one.
Okay.
Did Todd love that house?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Mueller, anything?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Can he be excused from his subpoena?
I would ask that you please be excused, Your Honor.
Any objection, defense?
No objection.
Okay. So you're excused from your subpoena obligations. Ms. Seiderman?
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Chris Williams to the stand, please.
We had a Greenboro horse when Travis and I got married, and the girls wanted to ride him, and Dad said no. Yeah. Exactly. Smart. Not a smart idea. Because you wouldn't be on him for very long. No. Why'd they even call him? They need to quit calling witnesses that don't really contribute that much, because this trial is going to last forever if they don't stop. Because the defense attorneys they have one speed, and that's slow. I do too. I haven't
Good
ridden
morning. Be
in
careful with the
years.
stuff there. If you raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Take your time and have a seat. And once you're settled in, we'll have you give us your full name and spell the last bit.
Chris Henry Williams, Williams.
And then, Mr. Williams, if you can move that microphone closer to your mouth so the jury can hear you, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Ms. Seiderman?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Morning.
Mr. Williams, where did you work in 2006.
Kimberly,
And at the time of your employment, did you have an opportunity to come in contact with Linda Stermer?
yes, I did.
And how did you come in contact with her at work?
Coworker.
You were co-workers? And do you recall when she started there?
No, I do not.
And then do you know when you started there?
Yeah, in 2003.
In 2003. And can you tell me then what was your involvement with Ms. Stermer when she started working there?
None.
None? And at some point, did that change?
Yes.
And could you tell the jury kind of what changed?
Well, normally I was a truck driver, and excuse me, when I was not driving truck, I worked in the shop, and we just happened to work side by side one day.
And what happened? Did you start a conversation?
Yes, in general, just about small talk.
And then how did that proceed?
Well, she kind of was telling me her situation about marriage, and
I'm going to stop you. You said she was talking about her situation with marriage.
yes,
What was she saying?
I can't exactly say, but it was on the line of her marriage wasn't working and she was getting a divorce.
So she was telling you her marriage wasn't working and she was getting a divorce.
Yes,
So did you talk a lot that day?
not a lot.
And then when would be the next time you'd start talking?
Well, when I left, when we parted that day, we were kind of interested in each other, but I found out she was married. And I told her that if she's single, if I'm single and she got a divorce, maybe we could do something. And I left it at that.
And then did you hear from her after that?
Yes, because a coworker gave her my phone number without my permission.
A coworker gave your phone number to Ms. Stermer without your permission?
Yes,
Did he tell you he did?
after the fact,
And then what happened?
she just started blowing up my phone
So she started blowing up your phone?
and stalking me.
And when you say she was stalking, what do you mean?
Well, I got out of work one day and stopped at the grocery store and she was there in the parking lot.
At the grocery store?
Yes,
And did you talk to her at the grocery store?
briefly.
Do you remember what you said in the grocery store?
No, I do not.
And when she would call, would you answer the phone?
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you have conversations?
yes.
What kind of conversations were you having at that time?
I can't really say, but it was kind of shocking. I was dumbfounded. Like, why are you calling me? You know, what is your purpose? Kind of conversation.
Well, were you in, but you had stated previously that you were interested and she was interested?
When I first seen her, I didn't know anything about her, just for visually, not personally, you know.
So you had a physical attraction.
Right.
And so then as you started talking, did you ever meet then outside of work?
Yes.
And how long did that take?
It went on a couple months before we did.
Do you know what year that was?
06?
06? And so after you had been talking for a while, after you'd seen her at work, can you tell me then what activities you guys started doing together?
Well, joyriding, going to museums, just normal stuff that people do when they first encounter each other.
So it was dates.
Kind of, sort of.
You took her to museums, right?
Yes.
Where were those museums at?
I'm thinking Grand Rapids.
Did you go to dinner?
I can't, no.
Take her to lunch?
No, not really.
No? You guys just went places together and joyriding?
Yeah, it was kind of awkward because I wasn't comfortable.
Why were you not comfortable?
I'm not into married women.
But yet you were still interested, right?
No, not really. She was just popping up. She was just there.
And you went on dates with her.
Yeah.
And so at some point, did your relationship turn physical?
Yes.
And when did that start turning physical?
I say maybe into, Well, she stuck me for a couple of months. I say maybe about a month and a half. It was kind of weird.
About a month and a half into spending time together?
Yeah.
How often were you spending time together?
I can't really say because we worked together and she would show up after work. So I say maybe a couple times a week or something like that.
And would that be a couple of times you'd see her outside of work?
Yes,
And then you'd see each other probably almost every day at work?
at work.
Okay. And when you would see each other after work, did you continue to talk about her marriage?
No, not on the regular. It was kind of weird. There wasn't much of conversation. Well, actually, it was all over the place.
So you didn't really talk too much about her marriage at that time?
No,
Did she ever tell you she had left him or got divorced?
no.
So was she still with him? Did you know?
Yes, she was still with him.
And when your relationship turned physical, you started having sex, correct?
Yes,
And where would you typically have sex with her?
at my house.
At your house? And you don't have to tell me your address, but what town did you live in?
Kalamazoo.
And did you continue to communicate with her regularly?
Yes,
How many times a week would you get together and have sex?
well, it wasn't really all about sex, but maybe a couple
Couple times you had sex or a couple times a week?
times a week.
Were you aware if she had more than one phone?
No.
You just had one phone number that you talked to her on?
Well, yes. Well, if she would talk to me on, she called me when I called her.
Were you afraid her husband would find out?
Yes.
Did you ever talk about that?
Well, yes and no.
What do you mean yes and no?
I was trying to figure out what was her motive with dealing with me.
To be with you?
Hmm. What was her motive? I mean, why would you want to be with someone and you're married?
Did she ever tell you why she wanted to be with you?
No.
But she still kept calling, right?
She kept showing up.
She kept coming to your house.
Yes.
Was there any time that she talked to you about Todd coming to her place of work?
No.
So you were never informed of him showing up at work unexpectedly?
No.
Did she talk to you about having plans of leaving him?
Yes.
So at that time, did you still think she was thinking she was going to leave him?
Yes.
How long were you guys together before the fire?
Well, we wasn't really together, but we was dealing with each other probably six months.
About 6 months before the fire?
Yes.
And at some point, did you become aware of what had happened with the fire?
I was watching the news on the Sunday.
So she didn't tell you about it? You saw it on the news?
Yes.
And then did you ask her about it?
Yes, I did.
And what did she say?
She told me briefly how it started.
What'd she say?
She said she was in the downstairs laundry room doing laundry, and they was arguing back and forth, and she heard a change in the tone of her voice and his voice, and she ran upstairs to go see about him, and upstairs was engulfed in flames. So she left and got in the van and go get help.
She tell you anything else?
Nope.
She tell you if Todd made it out of the house?
Nope.
How long did you continue to have a relationship with Ms. Stermer after that fire occurred?
I do believe it ended before Christmas.
So if this fire happened in January 7th of 07, are you talking about the Christmas after?
No, I'm sorry. It was up until the Friday before the fire, I remember.
Your relationship ended the Friday before the
No, it
fire?
didn't end. She was at my house the Friday before the fire.
So she was at your house that Friday.
Yes.
How long then did you continue to spend time together after the fire?
Maybe a month or so.
At some point, the relationship ended?
Yes.
Did you end it?
Her lawyer.
Oh,
the
sorry,
guy-
I'm going to stop you there. So was it more of a mutual ending?
No, it was more or less her lawyer told us we should not be seeing each other, but she shouldn't be seeing me.
That's what she told you?
Yes.
And was there, when you were looking back at the days prior to the fire and your time spent with Ms. Stermer, was there anything that she told you about any sort of arguments that happened between her and her husband?
No.
Was there any conversation about a truck?
It was a conversation about a Blazer thing or something.
Okay.
I've never seen any vehicle that they own or had other than the black Blazer and the van.
Did she ever talk to you about a vehicle that Todd sold?
It was a vehicle that he traded in on the van.
And then did she tell you how she felt about him trading that in?
She was upset.
And when was this in relation to the fire?
I can't remember when she told me, but that Friday she left my house, she was pretty upset.
She was upset? And what, she was upset about this truck?
I'm not sure what it was, but it wasn't a normal visit like it normally would be.
What made it not like a normal visit?
She was upset.
And when you say she was upset, what was she doing?
I guess it was about the van, the truck that he traded in without her permission.
Was she angry?
Yes.
Was that a different emotion that you had seen from her?
I'd never seen that side of her before.
You never saw that side of her before?
Never.
So the Friday before the fire, you saw a different side of her.
Yes.
And you would describe it as?
Angry, upset, however.
So through this time frame of 6 to 8 months, you had seen Linda Stermer without any clothes on, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever see any marks or
No.
anything on her? Any bruises or
No,
black eyes, cuts?
No.
Nothing.
no.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones?
That'd be fun.
Mr. Williams, you stated that you were employed at, or are you still employed at Kimlink? Is that the name of the company?
No, I'm not.
Okay, but in reference to the matter that you testified on direct, you were employed at Kimlink,
Yes.
and where's Kimlink located at?
At the time, it was in Schoolcraft.
Beg your pardon?
At the time, it was in Schoolcraft, Michigan,
And how long had you been employed there?
since 2003.
Okay. And you stated you was a truck driver, right?
Yes, the local.
And what shift did you work?
Day shift.
Day shift?
Yes,
Is that considered the first shift?
yes.
You recall the time when Ms. Stermer began working there?
When she started working there, we was in Kalamazoo.
Was where?
The company was small, and we had 2 or 3 different buildings. We stored the raw material in one building, and we made it in another, and I transported to shipping. My job was to transport materials back and forth.
So Ms. Stermer didn't work at the same location where you was a truck driver at, is that right?
Yes, she did. And one of the facilities, I said it was 3.
3 facilities on the
Yes.
same,
There was a storage where we stored the raw materials. My job was to transport the raw materials to the building, which we made it at. And then once it got packaged, I drove it to Ransom Street, which is on the north side, to be shipped out.
so which facility did Ms. Stermer work at?
The one on Factory Street, where they made the material.
And is it called a particular name?
It was part of Kimley.
Yeah.
The company grew. That's how we ended up moving out to Schoolcraft under one roof. So everything got transported out there
What shift did Ms. Stermer work?
first.
First shift? Are
It
you
was
sure?
only first shift when I was there.
So it's not a second shift?
No, not at that time.
You don't know exactly when Ms. Stermer started working there, though, right?
Not the exact date.
Well, what month? What year?
06.
What month?
Probably June, July, somewhere along that, summertime.
So if you're a truck driver, and Ms. Stermer is working in a facility where she's working inside, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And was part of your job to be in the same building where Ms. Stermer was working?
Yes, when I was not transporting materials, I worked in the shop,
Doing what?
packaging.
And was she also packaging?
Yes.
Did y'all work next to each other?
One particular day,
Just one day?
yes, side by side, yes. I was a truck driver, so I wasn't stationary.
And so after this one particular day, you stated that someone gave Ms. Stermer your telephone number?
Yes, I had a company phone at the time.
Who was that person that gave her your telephone number?
Mike Buchanan.
Mike who?
Buchanan.
Buchanan.
She tricked him into giving him, she asked him, well, what he told me.
Well, now I want to know what she told you. But you said that Mike Buchanan gave your telephone number to Ms. Stermer. Is that
Yes,
correct?
because she asked him for
No,
it.
but you don't know that, but you, now, what month did you get a call from Ms. Stermer in reference to?
I can't say
You can't say,
what month.
okay? Did you ever go out to lunch with Ms. Stermer?
No,
Did you ever go on a break at the company facility on break?
no.
When was the first time that Ms. Stermer contacted you by phone? Do you know what month and year that was?
It was the same day that
The same day.
Same day we worked side by side.
So did you go home and then you get a
I
call
was
from Ms.
on my
Stermer?
way home.
And you got a call from Ms. Stermer?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you and her have a conversation while y'all was working side by side with each other?
Just that one day. Yes.
But y'all had a conversation?
Yes.
Did she have a conversation with you about her marriage at that day? On that
Yes,
day?
in general, yes.
Somebody you'd never seen before, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, you just start having a conversation. She's telling you about her marriage. Is that right?
We had seen each other, but we never worked side by side.
But I know, but this is the first time you say that you've had a conversation with her about,
It's the first time I had a conversation. It wasn't the first time I seen her.
yeah. But just the first day that you're working side by side with her, she tells you about problems with her marriage. Is that your testimony?
Not problems, but in general.
Did you ask her, was she married?
I knew she was married
How did you know that?
from coworkers. The lady that got her hired.
So the lady that got her hired told you that she was married?
Mm-hmm.
Why would she tell you she was married?
Because I was physically, not physically, I was attracted to her.
You was physically attracted to her. Is that true?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So your testimony previously, direct, you stated that you didn't want to have anything to do with a married woman, right?
I did not, but that had nothing to do with being physical, attractive.
But what do you call physical?
Appearance.
So
She was a nice looking lady.
so
at the
her
time.
physical appearance, in spite of the fact that you knew she was married, was something that you wanted to follow up on.
No.
Isn't that correct?
I just found her physically attractive.
Okay. And so actually the lady that got her hired was the person that actually got you connected to Miss Stermer. Isn't that true?
No,
That's how you got the information about her being married.
she didn't have it, got us connected.
But you had no other information about her until you got that information from the person that hired her, right?
I don't understand your question.
Okay, well, you stated that you knew that she was married because of the lady that got her hired.
Right? Once I found it out, I was no longer interested.
Oh, after you found out that she was married, you wasn't interested,
No.
but you were still physically attracted.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You just said
Now-
he told you.
How long did Miss Stermer work at Kimley?
I don't know.
You don't know that?
No.
Well, were you still working there
When?
when the incident in reference to her house fire? Were you still working at Kimley?
Yes.
Was she still working at Kimley?
Yes.
And did she continue to work at Kimley after the fire?
Yes.
For how long?
I'm not sure. I was in a car accident in February of the 2nd.
You was in where?
A real bad car accident in February.
A real bad car accident?
Yes, I got rear-ended on my way to work.
Okay. So you was away from the
Yes.
employment.
Yes.
Well, would you consider this contacts that you had with Miss Stermer? Were y'all having? Would you call it an affair?
Yes.
Okay. And how long did you say that the affair lasted?
About 6 months.
6 months. Can you give me the date range?
From June to
June of what year?
06 until after January.
Until January?
Yes.
January, you know the first part of January?
Yes.
Was it before the house fire?
What question are you
The,
asking?
the end of the relationship or the affair, did it end before the house fire on January
No.
the 7th?
No.
When did it end?
Shortly after.
Week after?
Shortly after. I can't say it was a week. It was longer.
Can't say.
It was longer than a week.
Did you ask Ms. Stermer any details about the house fire?
Yes, I did.
Did you get any details?
Yes, I did.
What was the details you got?
She said that she was downstairs doing laundry and they was arguing back and forth and she heard a change in the tone of his voice and she ran up to see what's going on with him and upstairs was engulfed in flames.
And that was all?
That was all.
Okay. Now, after you had started this engagement, did you ever tell Ms. Stermer to stop coming to your house? And you say she came to your house, right?
Yes.
You ever tell her to stop coming to your house?
No, I did not.
Okay. And you never told us to stop calling you, right?
No, I did not.
And all at the same time, you knew that you were having some relationship with a married woman, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been married?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
When were you divorced?
I'm going to object to relevance on that.
The relevance, Mr. Mueller?
Well, Judge, he made the statement about marital respect. And
I don't think he goes with facts, not evidence.
I'll sustain the objection on relevance. Greg.
did you ever go any place with Miss Stermer overnight?
No.
You ever travel any place with Miss Stermer?
Not overnight.
Did you ever travel any place with Miss
Yes.
Stermer? Where?
To Grand Rapids, to the museums.
Just to walk through the museums?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yes.
that a yes?
Yes.
How many times you go to the museums in Grand Rapids?
Maybe once.
Any place else?
Not really, just joyriding.
Joyride. Okay. How often did you go joyriding?
And not often.
In your car or her car?
My car.
Ms. Stermer ever tell you that she was going to leave her husband?
Yes.
When did she tell you that?
Well, it wasn't working out. She was trying to leave. She wanted a divorce. Or they was getting a divorce.
She didn't tell you any location as where she was leaving and going to, though, right?
No.
Okay. She never asked if she come live with you either, did she?
No.
Okay. She never gave you any money, right?
No.
You never gave her any money, right?
No.
She ever talked about her finances to you?
No.
Okay. When were you first contacted by law enforcement in reference to this matter?
About 2.5 years after the incident.
2.5 years after.
Mhm.
And who was the first person that contacted you?
I don't recall his name. It was 2 people.
Beg your pardon?
I don't recall their name. It was 2 people, a man and a woman.
Where did they contact you at?
I was living on the east side at that time, and they came to my home.
Well, Well, you have to pardon me because I'm not familiar with the east side. Are you
East
talking
side of
about
Kalamazoo.
Kalamazoo?
Yes.
Okay, so they came to your house,
Yes.
and did you give an interview to this man and this woman that's from law enforcement at your house?
I didn't have a choice. Yes.
Which mean you didn't have a choice?
I was served with a first degree premeditated murder subpoena
To do what?
to testify, to come to court.
So before you came to court and testified, you were interviewed by these two individuals?
Yes. They served me with the subpoena, and then they asked if they come into my home.
So you were served with a subpoena,
Mm-hmm.
and then you was interviewed on the same date, the same time at your house, right?
Yes.
Were you afraid?
Yes.
What were you afraid of?
The unknown.
Okay. Did you know of any incident that involved a physical assault that occurred at Kim Link involving Ms. Stermer?
I don't think I was there. I was injured from a car accident, so I don't think I was there. I don't know if it was, you asked me before or after. There was a lot of chaos constantly, so I don't know what time phrase are you referring to?
So you say there was a lot of chaos,
Yes.
but no chaos between you and Ms. Stermer. Is
No.
that what you're saying?
No.
It was chaos between who?
Her and Kate.
Her and who?
Kate, her friend.
Would that be Kate Fox?
Yes.
And you knew her?
I knew of her as a coworker. I didn't know her.
Bill,
Did you work with her also?
I didn't work with her. We worked at the same place. Same company, I should say.
Is she the person that got Ms. Stermer the job?
No.
Okay. So you didn't witness any physical assault. You just heard about some chaos. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you provided any type of statements that anyone else had made in reference to Ms. Stermer when you were interviewed by the officers at your home?
It wasn't that type of interview.
What kind of interview was it?
It was about phone calls,
Okay, and that's all?
pretty much.
he's impeached your client. Now let the poor man
They
go.
did ask you about how the fire started, right?
No.
They didn't ask you if she told you about the fire?
No.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Have you seen any of the interview that you gave to those officers that day?
No.
You've never seen the interview?
It was in my home. I didn't know it was an interview.
So prior to your testimony in any previous court hearings, you didn't have an opportunity to see the interview that you gave?
I don't understand your question, sir. Are you asking me, was I in court before on this case?
Have you been in court before this case?
Yes.
May I approach you? It's part of the statement. Did you read that and see if you remember that statement?
It's pretty much what I've already said.
No. I didn't ask you this. So my question is, when I asked, did you remember the interview? And the investigating officer asked Chris Williams if he had asked Linda how the fire had started, to which he stated that he had asked her if she had killed Todd Stermer.
I do not remember that.
You don't remember that?
Not those questions, no.
And to which he stated she had almost immediately become emotional.
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to object at this point. He doesn't remember, so if
That's why I gave you this.
Well,
he needs to ask if it refreshed his memory and then ask
I
this question.
just,
Give it back to him. Sir, see if a review of it again will refresh your memory.
Are you talking about the interview at my home? I'm confused.
I don't know if they interviewed you someplace else or not.
I don't remember him asking me anything about her killing him.
You don't remember him asking you that?
Her killing, right?
Thank you. Could I have just a second?
It'll be fast. Is it fair to say that that first day you were working on the line together, you guys were flirting?
Who's what?
Was it fair to say on that first day on the line that you worked side by side, you guys were flirting?
Yes.
And that's when she started calling you right away after she got your number.
Yes.
And you were asked by the defense attorney if you guys hung out at breaks together, if you had meals together at lunch while you were at work, and your answer was no. Is that
No.
correct?
Yeah.
Were you worried about hanging out with a married woman at work?
Yes. We wasn't hanging out at work because no one knew.
So it was a secret.
Yes.
You said most of the time you were riding around, joyriding, or going maybe to Grand Rapids one time. So over the 6 to 8 months, is it fair to say that most of the time you guys were at your house
Yes.
and that's where you guys were having sex?
Yes.
And you were single.
Yes.
You weren't married.
No.
Do you want to be here today?
No.
You want to be talking about this?
I don't have a problem with it.
You want to be talking about having sex with the defendant?
No.
Is it easy?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Further questions?
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, jury, any questions of him?
I
We
would
got one, I think.
really, this poor man. StreamYard. Stop it.
Sir, were you ever at the Stermer property, and if so, when?
Was I ever? Oh, yes, long after the fire.
After the fire?
Yes.
Okay. How many interviews did you have with law enforcement?
One, when they came to my home that day.
Okay, thank you. Counsel, any questions in light of the questions and answers?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Mr. Williams, why would you be at the home that had burned down?
I don't know. That's a good question. We were just out one day, and she decided to take me there.
No, Larry. Bye, Carla.
She decided to take you.
To the location, there was no house, it was just concrete. Everything
No,
was
not
clear.
yet, Larry. I don't know if she's
It
going
was
to.
long after.
How long after?
I don't know, sir.
Well, you stated that this relationship ended sometime after the first 2 weeks of January, in January. So
Yes.
was it in January?
It was in the summer.
2007?
It was in the summertime. It was long after.
So was it,
We were not in relationships, and we're not in a relationship. We kept in communication. We were still communicating right before the officer came to my home.
but
Two and a
not,
half years later.
but not in any type of physical relationship, right?
No. It was all over.
And did you ever call just to check on her to see how she was doing from the loss of her husband in the fire?
No.
Sometime way after the burning of the house, you went out to see the property,
Yes.
maybe a year and a half later,
Yes.
maybe 2 years later.
Maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Did she call you and want to take you out there?
I don't know exactly how it happened, but it happened.
And so you went with her out to that property?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, any more?
None yet.
Jury, any other questions? No? May he be excused from his subpoena,
I would
counsel?
ask that you please be excused from subpoena, Your Honor.
I have no objections, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're all done. Jury, we'll take our lunch break until 1:15, and remember not to discuss the case with each other or anyone else, or to view any media coverage.
Larry, I'm glad you're back. I forgot to tell you yesterday. It was nice having you in chat. Y'all don't go yet. I want to show you something. Let me first make sure the attorneys don't have anything.
So the jurors have left. Any matters to address in the break?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
What time are we back at?
1:15.
1:15, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you guys remember Taylor Shabusiness? Was it last year? Year before? She was married. Her husband was in prison. she had a fling with an ex-boyfriend and they were high on meth and she decapitated him. And then she attacked her lawyer. Well, yesterday I saw that there was going to be a hearing today because she attacked a prison guard. And I texted Judy and I was like, oh, I want to do this hearing. I want to do this hearing so bad. Why did I think I wasn't going to find enough content to be able to live stream every day? Because there's too much. I don't have enough time to do all of this. So then Judy texted me a few minutes ago and she's like, Taylor Shabusiness attacked her lawyer again. I was like, what?
All right, the court will call 24 CF 1048 State of Wisconsin versus Bishop Business Appearances.
Lead for the state.
All right, this matter is set for a preliminary hearing today. Mr. Jellicoe, what's the status?
Your Honor, my understanding is we are proceeding.
All right. Mr. Leach.
Your Honor, I'm just checking in on problems here. I might need to run upstairs and see if she may be upstairs. If I can have them.
Sure.
And Judge, it sounds like just one witness. We're asking for a sequestration, but that may be a little.
We're off the record.
Oh, I don't know what's wrong with that woman. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys back at 1:15. Bye.